Welcome to episode 708 of the Entertainment 2.0 podcast, brought to you by thedigitalmediazone.com. I'm Josh Pollard.
And I'm Richard Gunther, and this is the show that puts you in control of your favorite movies, music, shows, and games.
Richard, you were making a weird look on your face, by the way. If our listeners are not subscribers on our YouTube channel, they should be. You were making a weird look as I was doing my part of the intro, and I did that all from memory. So did I screw something up? Is that why you were making weird faces?
No, the weird look that I did was that I wasn't in the right place in the notes, so I had to quickly scroll up to the top to make sure that I didn't mess it up.
Okay.
If I didn't have those there, but I did most of that from memory. So, after 708 episodes, I think we might have gotten this down.
Maybe. I'm not even sure I want to say probably. All right. Well, we took a week off last week. Life was insane. Plus, there wasn't a lot of news. So we're going to catch you up on everything this week. Some bad news in the Netflix and the PlayStation 5. What do they have in common this week? Well, they're both getting more expensive.
Shocker.
Yeah. Sony has announced the TV that they didn't announce at CES. We'll get into that more later. And then Walmart, despite not announcing it, looks like they have a new Google TV streaming stick. So all of that and some fun feedback. This was sent in to us from Joe using our email address, entertainment20 at thedigitalmediazone.com. And this is really just a link that we're going to throw in the show notes for you all. Joe sent us a link to a story that's about Plex, but it's not really product news or anything like that. And in fact, it's kind of odd that it's just now a news story because it's about something that Plex did in 2017. They got their 120 employees together for a big team building offsite. Supposed to be lots of fun. And turns out it really turned into more something like Firefest 2.0. Like everything that could have gone wrong when you take your entire company to Honduras did go wrong. And it is a wild story to read. So we're going to share that. And thank you, Joe, for sending this in. I'd completely missed this. But yeah, some reporting from the Wall Street Journal of all places covering this. It's insane what happened on this. And I'm kind of shocked that we didn't know about this until now. Like we're obviously pretty plugged into the Plex universe, right?
I imagine they probably tried to keep this pretty quiet.
Probably, but man, we got all the details in this story. So maybe statute of limitations was the first thing that came into my mind as I was reading this article. I don't know, but it's good. Again, link in the show notes, which you can find over at www.thedigitalmediazone.com. You will absolutely want to read this article about Plex, and just reading it makes me really happy that Plex still exists, that they didn't lose most of their employees in the process of all of this.
Way to go, Plex.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the real news for this week. And we're going to start with Sony. This is more the good news of Sony, not the PlayStation 5 stuff that we're going to talk about later. So, Richard, you and I were at CES in Las Vegas this year, and we saw all of these RGB televisions. We were having a hard time keeping them all straight, especially since they all called them different things and stuff like that. And when we went to the main central hall of the convention center to where Sony's booth is, I don't even know that you made it back there because I did earlier in the week and discovered, the only thing they're showing here is their stupid electric car collaboration that they're doing with Honda.
Which it turns out they've canceled.
Which they just canceled within the last couple of weeks, right? That was it. They didn't have any other actual consumer electronics on display at CES this year.
Right.
It was insane. So they didn't have an RGB TV to show off at that time. Well, this week, Sony has announced their RGB TV. And I don't know, maybe they took the right approach here because while we don't have full specs and actual model names and pricing and all of that sort of stuff, what they did do is bring a bunch of experts in and give them a deep dive into how their version of an RGB television should work and what the benefits are and why you might want one of these instead of an OLED. Although they are very much saying this is not an OLED killer. It's a different thing, because like one of those main differences is with OLED, every single pixel is a self-illuminated dot. And that's still not the case with these RGB TVs. But what you do get is crazy brightness, really, really, really accurate color, and with the way that Sony is doing it, even better off-angle viewing than you typically get out of LED TVs. So I'm not going to go into all of the crazy technical details of how all of this works and what they showed everybody, but I am posting a link to a YouTube video from a YouTube channel that I absolutely love. This guy is fantastic at getting into the details of how TVs work and how you should configure yours and all of that stuff. And he was on site with Sony to check these out, and he's got all of the information for you. So I'll post a link to that. But the main thing is that I took away from all of this is all of these different manufacturers, they're doing these RGB TVs in kind of different ways, and they just haven't really been telling us many of the details. And what I took away from especially the YouTube video that I'm going to link to is some of these other TV manufacturers are kind of cheating at some times. So like the main difference in the way that this works from a technical perspective is previously you just had a single colored bulb, and then it shines through an LED layer. And then there are color filters that then change that light into the different colors. And
in fact, red, blue, and green ones.
Correct. And with these TVs, the individual bulbs, and that's maybe not the best way to describe it. But pixels also isn't. But the individual light sources now have 3 different bulbs, a red, a green, and a blue bulb inside of them. And that's probably still not the most technically correct way of explaining it, but I think that works for most of our listeners. And so you don't need that color filter layer in the televisions anymore because the lighting is just doing its job. That also just naturally makes it brighter because it doesn't have to shine through another thing. So like with these TVs, we're talking 4,000 nits peak brightness, which is pretty high. That's nice. A super, super bright display. And what Sony is saying is that some of these TVs, like they'll do that for displaying test patterns and things like that, but under other situations, it'll actually revert to using color filters and things like that. So, and that really kind of makes a lot of sense based on what we were seeing when we were actually looking at these TVs with our own eyeballs and going, it doesn't look that much different. And in some cases, I still see color blooming happening. What's going on there? That's what's going on there. And so Sony is like, listen, the problem isn't the hardware. Like we all know how to make these different red, green, and blue lights. The part that is hard about all of this is controlling all of those lights and controlling them quickly enough to be able to display moving pictures and stuff. And that's the part that Sony's figured out, because Sony figured out how to do that years ago when they were making their studio reference quality monitors. So they've already got the technology that they can just kind of pull out of those monitors that they've been selling to Jerry Bruckheimer and people like that. But those monitors are really expensive.
I was just going to say, for a lot of money.
For a lot of money. Yes. So we don't have a clue what these are going to cost. I'm sure they're not going to be, in the like dozens of thousands of dollars. But I would bet that these will be the most expensive RGB TVs that we see released this year.
Mhm.
And TCL was talking $7,500 for their TVs. So it's going to be north of that. Like, it's for sure going to be more than what TCL is selling it for. All of Sony's TVs cost more than their competitors at TCL. So I'll be real curious to see real side-by-sides of Sony's, what they're just calling true RGB, next to some of their biggest competitors to see how they actually look. But it should be good. Like this might actually be worth looking at. Now, is any of this in the price range that normal people are going to go out and buy one of these this year? Not really. But in a couple of years, they might. And will they supplant OLEDs? Probably not. At least not initially, because OLED's still doing things that even these TVs can't do in terms of contrast and things like that. So
yeah,
but they look really good.
This is so disappointing to me because this is the kind of thing that gets people excited at a show like CES, and not previewing this at that venue seems like a big miss. I don't know if it was an engineering thing or they just didn't prioritize CES for this and the timing didn't work out right, but this would get people excited, particularly if they could see a prototype.
Right. Yeah. I wonder if it wasn't, like, it seems like it's probably not an issue of them not being ready in time, because they're saying these are going to sell in the spring. That's now. Like, we're in spring right now. So there's less than 3 months where you can still call it spring. And so they must have been about ready, but they were so focused on the car, I guess. Maybe that's the reason. The other thing is, if they had announced this at CES, would it just kind of gotten lost in the noise of all of the other RGB TVs? Would it just have made things more confusing? Or could they have made the same argument at CES of like, yeah, sure, they've got RGBs, but they don't have true RGB?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. And I think I would have liked to have had that conversation, right? I would have liked to have seen how this compared to everything else that we looked at, that, as you mentioned, we were in some cases scratching our heads about trying to figure out, okay, well, which really is better?
Right. So definitely encourage everybody to go and click on this YouTube link in our show notes. If you want to nerd out on TVs at all, this is your video to watch this week. Okay, let's talk about Netflix. Netflix. It's another price increase, and this felt like they had just done this. I thought they did, but I guess not. It's according to the article that we're posting here, they last raised their prices in January of 2025. So that's more.
I mean, that's kind of just. It's a year ago. It's a little bit more than a year ago.
I was thinking it was more recent than that. Because I remember talking to my wife Jen about the cost of Netflix over Christmas. And I thought I was doing that in relation to the price increasing, but I guess I wasn't. So yeah, I don't know. If it's more than a year apart, that doesn't seem like it's going up to. Well, listen to me. I can't believe I'm even saying this like that. That doesn't sound like they're raising prices that often. If it's more than a year apart, that's insane. That's still a lot. So they are going up, and it's going up across the board. It is a little bit complicated, so we're going to focus on the main tiers here. So there's really 3 tiers. There's standard with ads, there's standard, and there's premium. If you're doing the ad-supported one, it's going from $7 a month to $8 a month. That's probably what you expected. For standard, it's going from $18 to $20. So that's going up $2 a month. And for premium, it's going up from $25 to $27 a month. So that's also going up by $2 a month. And what's changing? Nothing.
Nothing's changing.
Nothing's changing
at all.
It's just the price.
Yep.
So
yeah, $27, nearly $30, $27.
Yeah. That's a lot That is so much. And so I thought it might be helpful because I think if we were able to poll all of our listeners, Richard, I bet the number of our listeners that are subscribed to Netflix is at least over 75%, right? Like
Yeah,
freaking
probably.
everybody subscribes to Netflix. But because that's true, you may not even realize what you're getting in the various tiers anymore, unless you're like on that ad supported tier. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm paying for the expensive one, why? This is getting too much. What am I even getting out of this? Let's just jump in real quick. So the premium one, that is the only level that gets you 4K, gets you HDR, all of the goodies. It also gets you 4 concurrent streams. If you need 4 different people watching Netflix at the same time in your house, then you have to have this premium plan. And you can download for offline playback on up to 6 devices. The standard plan, which is now $7 a month less expensive, gets you 1080p viewing, no HDR. None of the fancy tech. It only gets you 2 concurrent streams and downloading on 2 devices. That's probably good enough for a lot of people. That's the level I'm currently on. But even that, I'm considering whether we need Netflix right now, because that always that leads me into the message that I always like to share when we talk about these services going up in price. You don't have to maintain your subscriptions to all of these services.
Right.
Just cancel it. Watch some of the other services you're paying for. And in a few months, cancel one of them. Well, you're probably going to need to cancel a couple of them to recoup the amount of money to pay for Netflix. Right? Like you could watch Apple TV and Hulu for the cost of Netflix.
Right.
It's kind of wild. So
yeah.
It's a little bit more complicated than this because they're also changing. Like Netflix has that ability of you having like sub member accounts under your account, and you have to pay extra for those. Those are also increasing based on the various tiers that you're at by either $1 or $2 a month. If that matters to you, go and check out the details of that. But yeah, Netflix going up another $1 or $2 a month because it's 2026.
Again, it's funny. When I first heard this, I thought about a post that I wrote on the DMZ when they raised their prices, probably now something like a dozen years ago or more. And they probably raised the prices to, I don't know, maybe $14 at the time. But it was, my post was kind of showing this history that they had of repeatedly pushing the price up and up and up and up. And this is another one that I know it's just $2, but it hit the tipping point for me. It hit the point where it's too much. The number doesn't make sense in my head for the value that I get from the service. So I've been enjoying the premium service for years, and I will be changing that to the standard service.
Wow.
Now I get it discounted through my T-Mobile service, I believe. Yes, because I got a notification from T-Mobile about it going up. So I'll be changing from premium to standard, and I think I get $10 off it. So it'll end up being $10 now. And instead of, I think I was paying $15 in addition to, whatever compensation that T-Mobile was paying. So now I'd be paying $17, but it's still in my head that it's $27.
Right.
Right. So yeah, I'm going to cut this down. And part of the reason for that is that I want to send the message. I want to be among the consumers that Netflix looks at to see how did people respond the last time that we raised prices. And if the response is that they reduced your income by $7 instead of accepting the $2 increase, and enough people do that, that's going to send them a message.
Yeah, exactly.
Another thing that's going to send them a message is that a court in Italy found this price hike illegal.
Right.
And They are basically now, I don't know if the right word in Italy for this would be suing, but they are now claiming that Netflix owes customers refunds because this price increase is illegal based on EU law.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
It's crazy what's going on in Italy with Netflix right now. I'll be curious. Of course, Netflix is appealing all of this and stuff, but be very curious to see how that actually works out, and if a bunch of Italians are going to get little checks in the mail from Papa Netflix.
Oh, I very seriously doubt it, but still, it's fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on to the non-announcement, but there's real new hardware out there, even if Walmart is not actually announcing it just yet. So Walmart owns the brand called ONN, ONN. It is a discount electronics brand. And some of the devices that they make that we care the most about are a line of Google TV devices. And in fact, their highest end model is the one that I use in my living room. So
Yep.
they're effectively replacing one of their existing ones. It is just called the ON 4K streaming device. And it is the lowest model in their 4K lineup because they have the 4K Premium and the 4K Pro. I don't know why they need so many of these, but they do, and they're continuing on with it. So this looks like a replacement of the existing 4K streaming device with the same name. The biggest change here is the form factor. The existing streaming device is just a little puck-looking thing, although it's more of a square than a circle.
Yep. This is the one that I had bought down at the beach, the small little square thing.
Okay. And, well, are you sure it was this one and not the premium?
Yeah, it was not the premium.
Okay. And this one is a stick. So, like, you can plug it right into the HDMI port on your television. But if that doesn't work for you, it does come with an HDMI extension cable if you've got routing problems with that. But some people really like the streaming stick form factor. So that's a good thing.
Yep.
They didn't really have in their 4K lineup. Otherwise, it's mostly the same. It's still got 2 gigs of RAM. It's still got 8 gigs of storage, which is not a ton. It does have Dolby Atmos audio. That's the one real upgrade on this. So if you care about Dolby Atmos audio, but not Dolby Vision, which seems unlikely, then maybe it's time for you to upgrade to this device. And while it hasn't been officially announced, and it's definitely not on their website yet, someone on Reddit was able to walk into a Walmart store and found one and paid $30 for this device, which is in line with the recent price hike that we talked about, I think on the last episode. Definitely a recent episode. So again, that's the bottom of the line one. There's the premium. Sorry, it's not the premium. I keep calling it the premium. It's the plus. The plus is $40, so it's $10 more. But it gets you like real HDR and things like that. And then there's the Pro, which gets you everything plus more RAM and a lot more storage. So, which we think we're about to get a new one of those too, to replace the one that I've got. And I think I don't understand. I kind of don't understand this device. You want 4K, but nothing else. Then this device, I guess, is really for like your secondary rooms. You're putting it in bedrooms and stuff like that. I would not recommend that anybody goes out and buys this and puts this on their main TV because the specs just aren't great. Like with 8 gigs of storage, you're not actually going to be able to put very many apps on it. And with 2 gigs of RAM, especially if you do try to put a lot of apps on it, it is going to slow down in a hurry. So this is not made for your primary living room or home theater for sure.
Right. And I think what's interesting is that the article that we'll reference in the show notes kind of has the perfect headline by referring to this as a Chromecast with Google TV replacement. That's exactly what this is. This essentially is roughly the specs and roughly the form factor, although the Google device was a dongle as opposed to a stick. But this fills that gap since that device is gone. This is essentially a replacement for that, which is not necessarily for your primary TV. It's a great travel device.
Yeah.
This would be ideal for travel. Now, one thing that I have to call out, and I have to say this very carefully, Josh, this is a pretty big stick. So as HDMI sticks go, this is fairly large.
Right.
And I would actually be a little bit concerned about such a big thing. It's probably very, very light, but it's a big thing hanging off your HDMI port. And I just see opportunities for problems there.
Yeah, even
Like
even with
knocking it accidentally
Right.
or, whatever.
Yeah, that is a good point. It is really long. Yeah. So I mean, it's probably not going to fit in an HDMI port if you have anything else plugged in to the ports next to it, for one thing. Which,
Well, that's really interesting because I thought there was a spec for that, right? Like, I thought they had to allow a certain amount of space for devices, or like devices had to be a certain form factor. I thought that's why we had the dongle format for the Chromecast. So it'd be, I'd really be curious to see if anybody gets this. Can you plug a cable in next to this? You certainly wouldn't be able to plug another stick in next to it.
No, and unfortunately, the person on Reddit who was able to buy one of these only posted pictures of the box. So we've got the picture of the device on the front of the box. We don't even actually see what the actual device looks like, but it looks really wide. The casing for the actual, meat of this thing is significantly wider than the HDMI plug. So
Yep.
I don't think that's going to fit next to anything else. Oh, well. It comes to an extension, so you're good there. But yes, you're right to point out that this thing is a lot bigger than most of the competing devices from Roku and things like that.
Yep.
Okay, one more news story. This is in the gaming segment. The PlayStation 5. Like, you think Netflix is getting too expensive and they're raising prices too frequently? Ooh, Sony's like, no, I got you. Sony just raised the price of the PlayStation 5 in August. August. That wasn't that long ago. And they're doing it again. The regular PlayStation 5, the standard PS5 with a disc drive, when they raised prices last year, it went up to $550. It's going up another $100. So a base PS5 with a hard drive in it is $650. The digital one that doesn't have the disc drive in it is also going up by $100 to $600. And the PS5 Pro, which, man, if you bought one of these on Black Friday for $650, you are so happy right now.
Yeah.
Because the PS5 Pro is going from $750 to $900. Wow.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah.
I know there's going to be some people who are thinking, Josh, stop being an Xbox fanboy. No, let me point out the price of that standard PS5, they are raising it to make it the same as what Xbox did in September. The base 1 terabyte Series X is $650. So they're both stupidly expensive. And as a reminder, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X came out in fall of 2020, 5.5 years ago.
Yep.
My Xbox might be the best investment that I made in 2020. It's now worth $150 more than I paid for it.
There you go. I mean, the reality is that we didn't have the economy then that we have now.
Right.
And that's what's doing this.
Yeah. I'm sure RAM, as I've talked about on basically every episode this year, has a lot to do with this, but it's not just RAM and storage. It's tariffs and everything else that is going on in the world that is making everything more expensive.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Sony's official announcement just contained the phrase "continued pressures in the global economic landscape." Yeah, I think we know what that means. We probably don't need to get into that. So yeah, PS5 getting more and more expensive, just like the Xbox did, and just like I told you all back in like December, these things are, like I said, these are all going to get more expensive this year. PlayStation went first. I promise you, Xbox will follow, and I do think the Switch 2 is also going to get a price increase this year. I hate being the bearer of bad news, but I think it's all going to happen this year. It's just too wild of an economy right now for electronic devices, for these things not to get more expensive. So buy them now if you can, because it's only going to continue to go up. All right, Richard, that's it for our news this week. Let's talk about what's going on in our entertainment centers.
All right. Well, having come from an HTPC background, I still do think of my computer as part of my entertainment center. I'm constantly listening to music on it. I watch TV on it occasionally. So I thought it was fitting that I mention that I got a new accessory for my computer. I got a new mouse, the Logitech MX Master 4. And what's so cool about this? Well, if you haven't used the Logitech MX Master mouse devices at all, they're amazing. They have great ergonomics. They have lots of buttons. This has one more button than the last one I had. So I'm kind of excited about that. But the real exciting thing was that I won this. I got this for free at South by Southwest. And that's because Logitech had an event there where they were giving away a Logitech mouse to anybody that could hit a button in a very specific amount of time. They claim that every hour, I think it's every hour. No, it must be more than that. It must be more frequent than that. Because it wouldn't make sense otherwise. They're claiming that you save 19.8 seconds, I guess, every minute in productivity by using this mouse.
19 seconds?
Something like that. I mean, it's a lot, right? Like you're saving a third of your time. Now, I get where they're going. I get where they're going with this because they have this new kind of on-screen menu system that lets you get to all these different functions that you can define on your own, and you can specify it to an app and everything. So it's really cool. You can have your media apps have one on-screen menu that you can call up. You can have your productivity apps have different ones. It's pretty cool, actually. Anyway, I was able to hit the button in exactly 19.8 seconds. I thank the music lessons that I had for most of my youth because I can actually count a beat. All right. So as far as what I've been watching, I am up to date and enjoying Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. That's the in the world of King Kong and Godzilla and all of those movies. This is the series on Apple TV. It's great. They're doing such a good job with it. We're up to date on The Voice. We've been keeping up to date with Ghosts. I am waiting with bated breath for the new episodes as they come out for the new season of For All Mankind. I am seriously enjoying that this season. And I got back to Fallout. I'm not very far, but I'm liking it better. So that's progress.
Yeah,
that's progress.
It's better.
Yeah. And to fill some time, I watched a couple more episodes of The Bob Newhart Show. And somehow I hit it at exactly the point where they seem to have changed the theme song, which was really jarring because this is just something that I know from my childhood. And it's been reinforced for the last, I don't know, year or two that I've been randomly watching episodes of this. And then all of a sudden there's a new theme song. I'm like, whoa, what? You can't do this. What are you doing? It was kind of weird. And just a point of note here, Joe's message to us reminded me that the new season of Jury Duty is out. Now, this was the series the last year that Amazon put out Actually, it was on their free service, but absorbed into Amazon Video, where they basically punked a guy into thinking that he was a jury duty while everybody else was an actor.
Right.
And it was actually really good. It was surprisingly good. And they're doing it again, but this season it's a corporate retreat. and apparently everything goes crazy. So now I'm like renewed interest in watching this now that I have the background of the whole Plex thing. So.
Right. Wouldn't it be awesome if it was inspired by the Plex story?
I have no reason to believe that it is, but that's pretty funny. And then we watched the movie on Netflix called Red Notice. This is The Rock, Gal Gadot, Ryan Reynolds, great cast, playing their usual fun, flippant selves as, I guess I would call it like a heist movie, but it was a lot of fun. We enjoyed it, and I'm glad that we finally watched it because it's been out for a while, and I've wanted to see that. So, yeah, that's it. That's what's been going on in my entertainment center. How about you?
All right. Well, it's been kind of a weird mix of somewhat busy nights and stuff, so a little bit different. In terms of gaming, not all that different. Fair amount of NHL, Helldivers 2 with the guys, and just a tiny little bit more of Cyberpunk 2077. Really not very far into that still. Movies. I did watch a movie. I needed something to watch on the treadmill, and my oldest daughter had told me a couple of weeks prior about a new movie that was on Peacock called Begonia, which has Emma Stone and some other guys that I don't recognize, but that doesn't mean anything. They might be very popular. I don't know. But this movie is so weird. It is, she is like the CEO of some big company, and these two guys are convinced that she is an alien. We all sorts of weird conspiracy theories, and they're like, she's for sure an alien, and they kidnap her to, yes. And because of her alienness, and
Right.
that's insane. And they do insane things to Emma Stone.
Wow.
It's wild. It has a very high rating on like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff. I'm not sure that it was like 84 or something like that on Rotten Tomatoes. I didn't think it was that good. It was enjoyable, I guess, and it wasn't insanely long. It was under 2 hours, which is the correct length for a movie like this. And of course, Emma Stone is fantastic in it, but
yep.
I don't know. It's weird. It's really weird.
Interesting. So would you recommend it?
Probably. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that's like horribly offensive or anything like that. And if you like when movies can just get super weird and go in directions that you maybe weren't expecting, this does that. So
yeah,
I won't say anything more than that. But
all right,
yeah. So if you've got Peacock, it's available for free on Peacock. In terms of watching TV, the NHL season it's heating up as we head into the playoffs in just a couple of weeks. So I've been watching a lot of hockey. We are, of course, up to date on the Pit. So good. And I think we're up to date on High Potential. We might be one episode behind on that. And then we were also looking for something else to watch. And my daughter recommended, some people at school were talking about a show called The Traitors, like Traitors. Because she's doing something that's like themed like this show. This is a reality TV game show thing where like they invite all of these famous people onto the show, and then they pick some secret number of them to be traitors who are like murdering other people on the show, but they're not actually murdering them. It's just a game show.
Game. And this is not Squid Games.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And yeah. We watched the first episode of what I guess is probably the current season. I hated it. All of these people, like everyone in their life would describe them as that person is a lot or that person is too much, because it's like I don't know if it's like this on every season, but this season, like half of the contestants are from the Real Housewives shows.
Oh, see, you already, I'm out right there.
Right. And then the most of the other ones are from shows like Big Brother. Like you would recognize some of the Big Brother people, and Survivor. And then there's a couple of other just like random people. So like, Jason and Travis Kelce's mom is one of the contestants. I don't know. It's weird, but those people are so friggin' annoying. I never ever want to see another minute of that show. It was terrible.
That's a riot.
Yeah, that's not it for me. And then books, I finished Theo of Golden. I absolutely love this book. And my book club met last week too, so I got to hear what everybody else thought of it. I liked it more than everybody else. Like everybody in my group at least liked it. No one hated it. But especially the people who are like really, really hardcore, like book people who get literature and all of that. They were like, yeah, it's kind of formulaic and it's a little bit repetitive and blah, blah, blah. Yes, all of that is true, but it's so good. And it is the book that we need in our world right now. There's just so much goodness in this book. So I recommend everybody go out and read Theo of Golden by Alan Levi. It's so good. It's so
interesting.
Good.
So is this like new? Is that?
It is pretty new. It came out like last fall or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're looking for it at your local library, there's probably going to be a big, long wait for it. I have 2 tips for you there. One is, if you're an audiobook person, it is available on Spotify and it is less than 15 hours, so you can complete it in 1 month.
There you go.
The other tip that I will share from a friend and podcast listener is if you're in the ebook and audiobook the way of getting books, then you're probably using apps like Libby and Hoopla and stuff like that. And there's a decent chance you have one library card. And so you've put one library card into those apps. Those apps support multiple library cards, and you can probably get a library card from a lot of other libraries in your area. If you live in a big city, like multiple cities and suburbs have different library systems, so sometimes that'll work. In Ohio, we have the State Library of Ohio, so I can get that without having to go anywhere. And
cool.
My friend Jim was like, he sent me a screenshot of his Libby app, and he's got like 8 library cards, and they're from libraries all over Ohio. And he's like, I didn't have to go to any of these libraries. Like I was just able to sign up for this online. And they all have different hold systems and all of that stuff. So it's a way of getting access to books sooner, maybe.
Interesting. Seems a little bit gray, but yeah.
I mean, if they're willing to give you a library card.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
So it's a good tip, I think.
It's funny that you describe this book this way, because I actually just described Project Hail Mary the same way. Project Hail Mary is the movie we needed at the time that we needed it.
For sure.
Right? Very, very similar to Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Was the show we needed when we needed it.
Exactly. But maybe the best thing that we needed right now is the real thing. And that's the actual Artemis mission that is coming.
Oh, yes.
How is it that we found the greatest humans on Earth to put and send them around the moon?
Aren't they delightful?
It's so great. I love, like, it is the messages from that crew. Like, that is what is keeping me alive right now with everything else that is going on in the world, especially this week.
Yeah. And I think I've mentioned I have the frame TV in my office. Of course, I mentioned that because y'all bullied me into getting that instead of a crappy TV that I wanted to buy. And I have had that on all day long in my office over my shoulder, just on the NASA feed on YouTube, live constantly. So it's been so much fun to watch that and watching the loop around the moon, and then, just seeing as they mentioned, or as they described it on Cord Killers this week, the moon in the rear view mirror now as they head back.
Right.
It's been really cool.
Yeah. That's been such a joy to watch. I've loved it. Absolutely loved it. Was also really glad that the launch went off without any problems, because I forced my kids to come and watch. I'm like, guys, you have
Yep.
to watch this. We're making history here. We're watching the
Yep.
shuttle launch, and the whole time I'm just praying, please just go smoothly. Please, please, please.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was so excited about the launch. It was so beautiful, and I was stressed about it.
Mhm.
I always stress about launches.
Right.
Even when they were sending cargo up, I stressed about launches, right? I mean, every one of these missions is important in one way or another, and when you put humans in that that capsule at the top, it makes it even more critical that everything works perfectly.
That tiny little capsule on top of a gigantic rocket.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for what's going on in our entertainment centers and for the rest of the show for this week. So if you want to get a hold of us, we're all over the place. I'm still on X at Josh Pollard. I'm also Josh Pollard on Blue Sky. I'd rather you find me there. The website is DigiMediaZone on X. Richard is at Richard Gunther on Mastodon and richardgunther.com on Blue Sky. And, don't forget to just head on over to the website, www.thedigitalmediazone.com, to get the show notes with links to everything that we talked about, including that ridiculous Plex company retreat story and that breakdown of the true RGB TV event from Sony. And then to also go and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would really, really appreciate that. So that is going to do it for episode 708. He's Richard Gunther, and I'm Josh Pollard. Thanks for listening to Entertainment 2.0. Adios.
Goodbye.